It's all about Ferraris and McLarens at the moment, except for gallant Nigel Mansell, who, with the departure of the two Renaults, is carrying the main hopes of the Renault-powered cars on his shoulders. Nigel Mansell still in this second place, and still the Ferraris tiptoeing their way through the Massenet left-hander that leads into the Casino Square, and the Ferraris closing up. In fact, Alboreto has had to put on a little spurt because Lauda's pushing him so hard, and that's taken them close to the R.Arnoux Ferrari. And there's not much grip there for Alain Prost out of the Lowe's hairpin, and the Lotus is definitely closer, but now Lauda charges. Lauda goes through. Lauda squeezes past Alboreto. I don't know how those two cars didn't touch. Alboreto fights back, blue flags wave, but Lauda's got that fourth place, and he's going to hang on to it. Onto the waterfront, into the tunnel. Alboreto now eating Lauda's spray. Now let's see if Lauda gets away or Alboreto can fight back. In fact, immediately Lauda is moving away. Through the tunnel, the fastest part of the circuit, onto the waterfront now. Plumes of spray up from that McLaren. That's Niki Lauda leading the Alboreto Ferrari, and in fact starting to close on third man, R.Arnoux. The rain continues absolutely unabated. No chance of the traffic now on this road starting to dry it out, because there's plenty more rain to make up for the water that's being pushed off the track by these wide wet weather tyres with their deep channels. And you can see that the track there at Rascasse is almost flooded. Out of the gasworks hairpin, over the start-finish line, going of course over the zebra crossings and the road markings which are part of Monte Carlo, and that white paint must make for further grip difficulties for these drivers, because they're not on consistent tarmac all the time. They've got to go across the white painted road markings as well. Up the hill past Rosie's Bar, Arnoux, Lauda and Alboreto in this battle now for third place, and Alboreto has indeed dropped back, and Lauda is closing definitely on R.Arnoux now, out of the Casino Square. Very close to the barrier goes Lauda, a little twitch. He's trying one side, then he's trying the other, but Arnoux isn't going to make it that easy for him. Arnoux keeps over to the right of the road, down now to the Lowe's hairpin once more, and Lauda waits this time. That's where he got past Alboreto, but he's a little bit more gentle this time. A lot of understeer. You can see they're putting on more steering lock than you would think they have to get round the corner, because the front wheels are sliding away. But now in the tunnel, Lauda is tucked in behind. He's in the slipstream of R.Arnoux. The tunnel, a long, long right-hand curve. They come out into the straight part and down towards the chicane. On the brakes, down from fifth gear to fourth and then third. Very little room for mistakes as they come out of the chicane. Now down towards Tabac once more. That's where Martin Brundle came to grief yesterday. And Arnoux seems to have responded a little bit as they go round the swimming pool. But Lauda fights back once more, and it's on to braking now for the last bit of the swimming pool section. Lauda is very, very close indeed as they come down towards Rascasse. This is where the track is really flooded. And now to the hairpin of Rascasse. Alboreto's there just behind them, and Lauda looking all the time for a place to get by. You can see the overtaking difficulty here at Monte Carlo, and of course it's doubly difficult in these impossible conditions where the driver who's doing the overtaking really can't see. That's Saint-Devote where the Renaults came to grief. Now up the hill, Lauda makes a challenge. Lauda is charging up the hill. A little mistake there by Arnoux. The two of them are side by side up the hill. And I will never know how Niki Lauda squeezed through that narrowing gap between the Ferrari and the Armco barrier, but he did it. And we've got McLaren's first and third. Niki Lauda moves ahead of R.Arnoux. He's passed both the Ferraris. He's pulling away at once as they go down past the tip-top bar into Mirabeau. Alain Prost still the leader, still in second place. Nigel Mansell going well, but Niki Lauda has come all the way up to third, and remember he started down in 8th place on the grid. So this has been a magnificent charging drive by the double world champion Niki Lauda, the man who's won more Grand Prix than anybody else in modern Grand Prix racing, and I think he's not going to be content with third. This spurt for Lauda is going to continue. Through the tunnel, out of the tunnel, and this is a battle between one of the back markers. Oh, that's Hainaut, who's already had problems with his nose cone, clouting Riccardo Patrese rudely in the side. Nelson Piquet has a sideways moment as he goes past, but Riccardo Patrese, in the only Alfa Romeo to start the race, because Eddie Cheever, his teammate, didn't qualify. Patrese, on the corner, he must remember, where he spun 2 years ago and went on to win the race for Brabham. Patrese gets away with a little bit of help from the marshals, and now we look at the leader once more. Alain Prost on his way down the hill from Casino Square, and still Nigel Mansell is dogging his every move. Now Prost knows that he's got to keep speed up as much as he can, because Mansell is closing, but at the same time Prost can't be clumsy. He can't put in a big spurt which could end up in the barriers. That treacherous understeer once again at Portière, onto the seafront. There's R.Arnoux once more, and that's Alboreto spinning off. Alboreto has spun. K.Rosberg goes through, Ayrton Senna goes through, Winkelhock comes through, Ayrton Senna has moved up pretty fast. There's Beloff, who's also coming up in the Tyrrell. So Ayrton Senna and Stefan Beloff in Tolman and Tyrrell respectively have moved well up. There is a moment there for François Hainaut. That's his third drama today. He's lost his nose cone. He's punted Patrese off. He's now spun once more at Saint-Devote. Meanwhile, at the Mirabeau hairpin, they're helping the unfortunate Michele Alboreto back onto the track. Alboreto coasts down the hill, gets his engine restarted, and Ferrari number 27 is back in the race, but he's now right at the tail of the field. In fact, the leading battle, Prost and Mansell coming up now to lap. There they are, coming up to lap Alboreto. Meanwhile, we've got a caller at the pits. It's Jacques Lafitte. Seems to be having a tyre change, which is a surprise, because he can't have worn his wet weather tyres out in these conditions. Perhaps he clouted a barrier and needed a new wheel somewhere. Meanwhile, there's the other Williams of K.Rosberg. He's under pressure from Ayrton Senna. Winkelhock is under pressure from Stefan Beloff. So Senna challenging for 5th, Beloff challenging for 7th. Both of them have had to pass an awful lot of cars to get up there. Rosberg under pressure in the tunnel from the new Tolman. Ayrton Senna, of course, having his first Monaco Grand Prix and producing a very, very mature display indeed. Rosberg, always a good man in the wet weather. Oh, and he hit the curb there. Ayrton Senna clouted the curb coming out of the chicane. Now, has that damaged the car? We'll see very quickly whether Senna does in fact slow. He understeers, goes straight over the curb, miraculously manages to avoid hitting the Armco coming out, and he's still there. And as far as we can see, there doesn't seem to be any damage to the front of that car, and that hasn't delayed Ayrton Senna very much. So K.Rosberg 5th, Ayrton Senna 6th. There is the yellow ATS 7th and the black Tyrrell 8th of Winkelhock and Beloff respectively. And Rosberg, always a good man, I was saying, in the wet, but he doesn't seem to be that happy with the Williams Honda here. And a former winner, of course, of the Monaco Grand Prix. And as the Ferrari goes up the hill, that was R.Arnoux, that was the Williams of Rosberg. There is Rosberg into the Casino Square, and Senna is right back with him, despite that mistake he made at the chicane. There's one of the Brabhams that's come to a halt at Portière. That looks like Corrado Fabi, Teo Fabi's brother, having his first run. There's Alboreto being lapped by the leading battle, and look how close Nigel Mansell is. Nigel Mansell actually gets delayed there by Alboreto, who did his best to keep out of the way, but Nigel Mansell is right up with Alain Prost now. Still Stefan Beloff following his fellow German, the ATS of Winkelhock. Oh, a little twitch there from the back end of Beloff's Tyrrell, which he corrected very quickly. There is Corrado Fabi still stationary at Portière. Fabi having a very unhappy first Grand Prix for Brabham.